Hello and welcome to a special bilingual edition of Valley View News. I'm Alan Leyva.
And I'm Luka Chkhaidze.
Global oil prices surge as tensions between the U.S. and Iran continue to escalate. The GLBX Brent crude rose 2.6% to $115 per barrel, while U.S. crude rose nearly 3% to $102. Meanwhile, the U.S. is increasing its military presence in the Middle East. Despite the rising tensions, President Trump said negotiations are still ongoing. He gave Iran a 10-day deadline to reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face further military action. Iranian leadership warned they are prepared for a potential U.S. invasion, as reports indicate the Pentagon may be planning to extend ground operations.
Pope Leo is condemning war as he opens the Catholic Church's holiest week. Speaking in St. Peter's Square, he says God rejects the prayers of leaders who wage violence. The Pope calls the conflict in the Middle East atrocious and urges an immediate ceasefire. He also says faith should never be used to justify war. Millions of Catholics are marking Palm Sunday ahead of Easter.
Iran reportedly hacked FBI Director Kash Patel's personal email account. The FBI confirmed it is aware of the incident and has taken steps to reduce any risk. The hacking group known as Handala Hackers Team claimed responsibility. The incident follows recent action by the Justice Department, which seized several domains tied to the group as part of efforts to counter Iranian-linked cyber operations. Authorities are continuing to pursue the group, with the State Department offering a $10 million reward for information that could help identify those behind the hacking operation.
A nationwide transport strike is disrupting travel in the Philippines. Drivers are protesting rising fuel costs tied to the ongoing Iran conflict. Demonstrations are reported across Metro Manila and other provinces. Protesters are calling for lower oil prices, tax cuts on the fuel, and more subsidies. Officials say the country's heavy reliance on imported oil is making the impact worse as global prices climb.
Cuba is preparing to receive a Russian oil tanker despite international sanctions. The shipment would be the first of its kind to reach the island this year. Officials say the oil could ease severe fuel shortages and ongoing blackouts. The move comes amid broader global energy tensions tied to conflicts abroad. Cuba relies heavily on imports to keep its power grid and transportation systems running.
Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is ordering the military to expand invasion of southern Lebanon. Netanyahu's announcement came after Israeli forces advanced multiple areas of southern Lebanon in a bid to drive out Hezbollah. Netanyahu says he is determined to fundamentally change the situation in the north. At least 1,238 people have been killed since Lebanon got involved in the war in March.
TSA workers are receiving pay after President Trump signed an order to direct federal funds to pay employees. Airport wait times are expected to decrease. Major U.S. airports have been suffering from extremely long wait times after about 50,000 TSA officers went unpaid since mid-February. Earlier this week, Trump signed an executive order to delegate federal funding to TSA employees. This is only a temporary solution, and long-term funding still needs to be approved by lawmakers.
No Kings protests drew large crowds as organizers say over 8 million took streets across the nation. Here in Southern California, dozens of locations ranging from Los Angeles to Ventura County took the streets as demonstrators marched opposing the ICE raids that are appalling communities across the country. The current war in the Middle East had many implications, criticizing the leadership of the Trump administration.
The No Kings protest brought together many voices and opinions. For more on that, here's our very own Habis Pascual, who was at the event this past weekend.
I'm here in Sherman Oaks, one of many locations here in Southern California, as demonstrators are taking the streets as part of a nationwide No Kings protest.
Millions are hitting the streets from coast to coast, voicing opposition to the Trump administration and its policies.
Everyone, that we're not in favor of none of this, you know? We gotta speak up. Stay silent. That means you're complicit. We can't do that.
And we have to do this. And it's our responsibility as a citizen in this country to have a voice.
Attendees say women's rights and an increase in ICE raids are among the key issues behind their demonstrations.
Things in the Epstein files and hurting women and taking down groups of people.
This marks the third round of No Kings protests, with the first two happening in June and October of last year.
Biggest No Kings rally yet, and this is the biggest peaceful protest in the world history.
Organizers say that they will continue to plan more No Kings protests in the coming months. Reporting from Sherman Oaks, I'm Javes Pascual for Valley View News.
Thank you, Javes. President Trump is threatening to obliterate Iran's power plants and oil wells if a deal is not reached soon. Trump says the U.S. is in serious talks with Iran. He also says if a ceasefire is not agreed, the U.S. will hit sites it purposely has not touched yet. A spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry says the U.S. proposals to end the war are excessive and unreasonable.
NASA is introducing the crew for its first mission to the moon in more than 50 years. The Artemis team includes a woman, a person of color, and a Canadian astronaut. The nearly 10-day mission will not land on the moon, but will travel farther into space than Apollo missions. Astronaut Victor Glover says he hopes it's just the beginning.
But I also hope we are pushing the other direction, that one day we don't have to talk about these first, that one day this is just, and I listen to this, that this is the human history. It's about human history. It's the story of humanity, not black history, not women's history, but that it becomes human history.
Officials say it is a major step toward future lunar landings later this decade.
2 U.S. Navy ships are in Panama for military exercises. The aircraft carrier USS Nimitz and destroyer USS Gridley arrived Sunday for Southern Seas 2026. It marks the first time in more than 50 years an aircraft carrier has entered Panamanian waters. The drills are aimed at strengthening partnerships across the region. Thousands of crew members are also expected to take part in local community activities.
We will have more coming up in sports and the weather. A crazy finish of UConn versus Duke, and a chance of some light rain this week.
Welcome back to Valley View News.
We have news out of Hollywood, along with a bit from the video game world. Let's take a look.
The Academy Awards, otherwise known as the Oscars, will move from Hollywood to downtown Los Angeles in 2029, relocating from the Dolby Theater to the Peacock Theater. The change, part of a deal with AEG, keeps the show there through at least 2039 and brings a larger, more modern venue. The Oscars will also leave ABC and begin streaming live on YouTube starting in 2029.
The upcoming HBO Harry Potter series became the most viewed trailer for an HBO show. The upcoming series, which is set to debut on Christmas of this year, surpassed over 277 million views over the first 48 hours. The first season, which is called Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, will have a total of 8 episodes and will cover the events that took place in the first book.
With the latest release of in the Mario Cinematic Universe, Super Mario Galaxy the movie, Nintendo is building hype by launching a new Switch 2 edition of its most recent game featuring everyone's favorite plumber. Super Mario Bros. Wonder plus Meetup in Bella Bell Park has released amid the buzz surrounding the new movie. The updated version features enhanced 4K resolution and adds Galaxy favorites Rosalina and her Luma as playable characters. It's currently rated 4.9 stars on Nintendo's official website. It's shaping up to be a big week for Nintendo's flagship franchise. It's important to give back to nonprofit organizations for their own causes.
Our very own Marcus Nocerino was on the red carpet at producer and influencer Alan Santana's nonprofit fundraiser, where many celebrities were bowling for the cause.
Yes, thank you guys. I'm standing here on the red carpet where author, influencer, and producer Alan Santana is hosting his 3rd annual bowling fundraiser event for a boxing nonprofit organization.
Different celebrities like content creators, actors, and singers came together for a fun weekend event by walking the red carpet and playing a fun game of bowling.
We're looking forward to growing this every year, but a lot of fun. We have a lot of great actors and actresses that have come out to support us, and it's just a lot of fun doing this.
Oh, it's so really fun. As we were saying, it can feel like a family reunion when you see people that you see at other events, so it's really cool. It's kind of like a really cool crossover.
Drinks and pizza were provided for guests as well at the event.
Yeah, so I know Christian Allen. Christian and I met at a networking event a few months prior. He filmed one of my most recent shows in December, and from there we've just kept in touch, and he's been an amazing contact.
Besides one person winning an award based on their bowling score, celebrities also got to win some awards for their hard work.
Alan Santana is hosting more public events, and you can find it on his website and the BYATP Studios website as well. From Downey, I'm Marcus Nocerino for Valley View News. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thank you, Marcus. Alan, did you see that crazy finish to the Duke versus UConn game?
Yeah, horrible turnover. Cost Duke the entire tournament.
I definitely agree, but we'll have more on that with Elise.
Yeah, guys, don't worry. I'll talk more on March Madness. But first, Tiger Woods is facing DUI charges after a crash that took place over the weekend. Woods crashed in Jupiter Island, Florida, where he was detained and showed signs of being intoxicated. Woods was booked and taken to Martin County Jail, where he was treated for various injuries, some of which required surgery. Woods released a statement saying he is stepping away from golf to focus on recovery and health. The men's Final Four is set. Last weekend saw 3 number 1 seeds take to the hardwood, with Arizona being the first of the 3. The Wildcats reached their first Final Four in over 2 decades after defeating Purdue. Illinois also advances by defeating number 9 Iowa to advance to its first Final Four in 21 years. The Michigan Wolverines, led by Yaxel Lendenborg, finished off 6th ranked Tennessee to advance to its first Final Four since 2018. The Wolverines had 5 players score in double figures and the contest. And perhaps the wildest game of the Elite Eight came between top-seeded Duke and the UConn Huskies. Duke will take on Illinois, while top-seeded Arizona faces Michigan this upcoming weekend. On the women's side of the bracket, the Elite Eight wrapped up earlier this week, and the Final Four is set for this weekend. All 4 number 1 seeds advanced to the Final Four, making it just the second time in history that it's happened. UConn defeated number 6 Notre Dame and will face South Carolina in the Final Four. They defeated the number 3 seeded TCU. On the opposite side of the bracket, UCLA makes its return to the Final Four after defeating Duke. They'll face the Texas Longhorns. Their defense held 2-seeded Michigan to just 41 points en route for a 36-point win. The Final Four will take place in Phoenix, Arizona this Friday, with a chance at a national championship on the line for the 4 schools. The NFL and the NFL Referees Association have started the process of hiring replacement officials ahead of the upcoming season. Both sides have failed to reach a new deal, and negotiations are now on hold. The current agreement in place between the league and its officials expires at the end of May. Key issues in the negotiations include job structure, longer probation periods, increased off-season training, and changes to how playoff assignments are determined. After 23 years, the Connecticut Sun will be moving to Houston. The franchise is being sold to the Fertitta family, who are the owners of the Houston Rockets. The sale is closing at $300 million, which is the highest price for a WNBA team. They will play for the 2026 season, but will relocate for the 2027 season. They will be renamed the Houston Comets. CSUN students are preparing for race day. Here's our very own Duck Lee with more.
Hello there. I am standing at CSUN's G3 parking lot, where just behind me you can hear the revving of engines and see the race car driving around track. Members of CSUN's Matador Motorsports have been test driving this car since 8:30 this morning.
This is Formula SAE, or Society of Automotive Engineers, where students are practicing the skills they need to design, build, and drive a real race car to compete in international competition. But that is not their car. This car was built by last year's cohort.
So the purpose with testing with last year's car is, since our car is an iteration of last year's design, not many of the components changed. We can focus on what last year's team could have done better. We can have a better understanding of how to go about working with the car so that it gives us time to fix any issues now.
The team hopes to get their 2026 championship contender finished and driving by April. But keeping the wheels turning on a project this size is no easy feat.
So a daily task is ordering parts, ordering metal, ordering things that the team needs as we build our car. We begin by designing early summer and fall. We begin to manufacture towards the end of fall, winter, and the beginning of spring, so we can have a car done by April. So every single day I'm overlooking our finances, making sure that we're in budget, and making sure that I'm meeting the team's financial needs.
These students will be going to Michigan in mid-May to compete in the championship. Last year's team finished 11th out of 106 colleges. This year, they're looking to put CSUN into the top 10. From California State University, Northridge, this is Duck Lee, Valley View News.
Thank you, Duck. That's all I have for sports. Back to you guys.
Elise, before you go, who do you have in the national championship?
Honestly, for me, I think Illinois and Arizona, but honestly, it's up in the air.
I got UConn and Arizona.
I gotta agree with Luka, UConn, Arizona. Guess we'll see. Luka, this weather has been ridiculous.
I agree. Like last week it was 90 degrees and now it's raining. What's going on?
I don't know. We're all looking for answers. Let's check in with more with Habes Pascual.
Guys, thank you. Expect some cool downs in the coming week. Here's an extended forecast for Los Angeles, beaches, valleys, and inland empires. For those who celebrate Easter this week, expect a clear sunny sky here in the valleys, as temperatures will be in the low 80s throughout the weekend, with lows in the mid-50s. We expect sunny spring-like weather starting Monday, as highs will be in the 70s and chilly nights in the 50s. In the downtown Los Angeles area, expect a cool down at the beginning of the work week, with temperatures in the mid-70s, with lows dropping in the mid-upper 50s. If you'd like to take your plants to the beach this weekend as well, the weather won't disappoint you. Expect early marine layers, with afternoon perfect conditions in the upper 70s to the low 50s. The Inland Empire will see a significant drop in the temperatures, Saturday being the warmest day, as it would hit the high-low 80s for the remainder of the week. Monday through Friday, expect temperatures ranging from the high 70s to the low-upper 60s. That's it for weather. Back to you guys.
Coming up after the break, we have our interview with Javier Renovato with insights into sports production and the current sports world. Stay with us.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back. Our very own Erick Mejia sits down with Javier Renovato to give us his perspective on the current sports world and his role as a producer.
Thank you, guys. I'm here with a really special guest today. He's been working with Telemundo 52 for over the last 2 decades. He's been producing and has anchored in the past for them. He's also currently building his social media account, making a new wave for the upcoming new strategy in news. I'm here with a really special guest in the special bilingual version of Valley View News. I'm here with Javier Renovato.
Un gusto poder estar aquí contigo. Me llena de mucho satisfacción poder tener la oportunidad de charlar contigo.
Muchas gracias. No lo mencioné antes, pero ¿cómo se siente estar en la casa donde usted empezó todo? Donde empezó todo para usted. Aquí nació el amor por lo que hace usted ahorita.
La verdad, siempre me ha llenado de orgullo regresar a la que es mi casa. Lo único que te puedo decir es de que a través de todos estos 20 años que he estado en el mundo periodístico, me llena de mucha pasión, de mucho orgullo, el saber que siempre he estado haciendo lo que me ha gustado hacer, que es estar cubriendo el mundo deportivo.
Y antes de que hablemos del mundo deportivo, ¿cómo es de que, para la gente que no sabe, cómo es de que usted empezó? ¿Cómo nació su amor en seguir en el mundo de noticias para deportes, para Telemundo, por ejemplo, y también para sus propias redes sociales?
Mira, comenzando, yo siempre fui un chavo bien deportista. Comencé jugando varios deportes. El principal que fue el fútbol, lo practiqué en high school. De ahí hice cross country, hice atletismo, era corredor de larga distancia. Y una vez ya me gradué de la high school, pues siempre continué jugando fútbol, porque era lo que siempre me apasionaba, pero nunca tenía un enfoque directo sobre qué era lo que quería hacer. Y cuando ya comencé a estudiar, me di cuenta que el fútbol era mi pasión, que yo eso quería hacer. Entonces, cuando estaba en Pierce College, hice la transición para transferirme a CSUN, me aceptaron y prácticamente ahí yo ya sabía lo que quería hacer, que era estar en el mundo periodístico. Me tomó mucho tiempo, para serte sincero, fueron 9, 10 años aproximadamente de estudios, pero creo que al final del día valió la pena porque aquí estamos, haciendo lo que más nos gusta, que es contando historias del mundo periodístico deportivo.
Y hablando de hacer lo que a usted le gusta, yo sé que ha sido producciones para Telemundo, pero recientemente, con creciendo sus redes sociales, usted cubrió el clásico tapatío. ¿Cómo fue esa experiencia para usted? ¿Y cómo de ejemplo lo usa eso usted para el futuro que viene? Especialmente considerando el mundial que viene y todas las redes que van a explotar con todos los views, los likes, con todos los comentarios.
Pues mira, prácticamente es bien interesante ese tema que mencionas del social engagement del cual estamos viviendo actualmente. Después de esos 20 años, pues me he logrado mantener en Telemundo, pero una de las cosas que yo siempre he estado abierto a que pues uno tiene que irse adaptando como va moviéndose el mundo. En este caso, el social media está creciendo increíblemente, entonces poco a poco di ese paso de decir, ¿sabes qué? Tienes que adaptarte a este nuevo mundo que está llegando, porque si no te adaptas, si no te renuevas, te vas a quedar estancado donde estás. Entonces, para mí, lo de la experiencia del clásico, tengo aproximadamente 1 año y medio moviendo mis redes, porque yo decía, no, o sea, yo trabajo para Telemundo, yo quiero seguir haciendo esto, pero uno tiene que irse moviendo con los cambios que van llegando, y me propuse a mover mis redes, que fue uno de mis objetivos, y ha ido creciendo poco a poco. La experiencia que viví en el clásico, y te lo comparto personalmente, que aunque son mis fines de semana libres, que no estoy trabajando, voy lo hago para colaborar con Telemundo 52, pero no sabes la emoción que a mí me siento, te lo voy a poner en palabras cortas, me siento como un niño con un regalo de Navidad. ¿Sabes cómo siendo un niño cuando recibe así me siento? Porque siento como que ando en mi ubro, porque me fascina, me encanta, voy, camino, platico con la gente, hago entrevistas, estoy en la sala de prensa cubriendo el partido, subiendo cosas. Entonces es una experiencia bien, bien bonita en lo personal, que al final de cuentas te digo, lo tienes que hacer porque a ti te motiva hacerlo y porque te gusta. Creo que esa es la base principal y el mensaje que le puedo mandar a todos los estudiantes, que lo hagan con pasión, porque cuando llega con pasión y con ganas, el resto llega solo.
Y hablando de, pues, lo hermoso de que es el fútbol a veces, en 2 meses llega el Mundial y va a llegar en México, en Canadá y Estados Unidos. Usted no solamente ha cubrido recientemente el Mundial en Qatar y recientemente también el Mundial, lo que ha venido en 2018, 2014. Todos los movimientos que ha estado haciendo usted, ¿cómo va a poner eso, la nueva experiencia que ha tenido usted, para lo que viene en 2 meses?
Pues mira, primero, hablando de la experiencia en Qatar, la verdad fue una experiencia increíble. Fue, creo que, de lo más lindo y lo más hermoso que me ha tocado vivir como productor, porque a pesar de que fueron jornadas largas, creo que fue muy linda la experiencia, la verdad. El simple hecho de haber ido a conocer otro país que no es el mío, estar en un mundial donde prácticamente fue histórico, o sea, nunca antes se había dado un mundial donde se jugara en un solo país, o sea, es increíble, o sea, de los 8 estadios que se jugó el mundial en Qatar, tuve la oportunidad de conocer 6 de ellos, o sea, ¿cuándo pasa eso? O sea, bien raro, o sea, nunca lo vas a ver. Entonces, el simple hecho de contar esa experiencia, pues fue de lo más lindo. En respecto de cómo voy a transformar eso a lo que está pasando ahorita, hablábamos del social media, entonces ahora el medio va cambiando un poquito, por lo que toda esa experiencia que he ido adquiriendo y hablamos de cómo va a afectar, o más que todo, es que uno se tiene que seguir preparando para irse de ese lado. Ahorita, como tú ya has de saber, o sea, el streaming es bien popular, la gente está constantemente en sus teléfonos, entonces, ¿qué puedo yo hacer de relevante? No para llamar la atención, porque al final de cuentas, pues uno puede llamar la atención de cualquier forma, sino cuál va a ser mi estrategia para poder llevar esa información y poder hacer llegar ese engagement del que hablamos a la gente, porque la gente todo el tiempo está en sus celulares. Otra, la gente consume celular la gran parte del tiempo. O sea, esa gente ya, muy poca gente está viendo televisión. Las generaciones ya más adultas son las que están viendo. Como te decía, no es que la televisión vaya a terminar, pero simplemente esa experiencia que yo he ido agarrando es donde voy a llevarla a social media, donde la gente está pendiente.
Yeah. Y hablando de las noticias que ha pegado el teléfono, toda la gente viendo el teléfono, ahorita puedes ver en tus redes sociales, en el teléfono, que otra vez Italia no está en el Mundial. Creo que es la tópica más grande ahorita de esta semana. Llevan 12 años sin ver italianos en el Mundial. Es como increíble pensar eso, ¿verdad?
Sí, la verdad creo que fue la noticia deportiva del día de ayer, que cómo es posible que una potencia a nivel mundial, porque hay que recordar que Italia es 4 veces campeona del mundo. La última vez que se coronó fue en el 2006, 2010, 2014, clasificó, pero ni siquiera avanzó a la fase de... No salió de la fase de grupos, perdón. Entonces estamos hablando de 2010 al 2026, o sea, aproximadamente 20 años que Italia, su fútbol ha desaparecido. Entonces es muy triste y lamentable por la historia que tiene Italia, pero algo tiene que cambiar en el fútbol italiano porque no, o sea, es inimaginable pensar que Italia por tercera ocasión quede fuera del Mundial y lo más triste, que tenga que ir a un repechaje. Entonces, pues tiene que haber una reestructuración por completo en el fútbol italiano, porque aunque no lo creas, se ha ido desbancando en las ligas mejores del mundo. Estás hablando de que ya ahorita está entre la quinta y sexta, que poco a poco el fútbol italiano, no quiero decir que su nivel ha ido bajando prácticamente, pues incluso creo que me atreveré a decir que la alemana está por encima de la italiana, pero tiene que haber una reestructuración por completo, si no Italia poco a poco.
Sí, pero obviamente como usted dijo, pero en las estadísticas y en los standings dice una cosa y habla, pues está bajando el nivel, es lo que quiere decir. Las estadísticas, el nivel, y Italia otra vez afuera del Mundial. ¿Cómo no poder decir eso sin ser verdad?
A mí me hubiera gustado verlos acá en el Mundial.
A mí también. Eso va a ser todo para la entrevista. Muchas gracias. Era un honor escuchar todo lo que tenía que hablar. Ojalá que todo vaya bien en el Mundial. Ojalá que las redes sociales le sigan creciendo. That's going to be everything for the bilingual version interview with Javier Renovato. It's been a pleasure for me and everybody. We're going to go right back to the studio.
Muchas gracias, Erick y Javier. Appreciate the insight on the World Cup. Super excited to see the competition hit the States. On to some more lighter news. A baby kangaroo is back home after a search that left his owners and volunteers searching for days.
Chesney, the kangaroo from Wisconsin, escaped his home after dogs approached it and started walking towards it. The kangaroo fled its home, and it led to various volunteers participating in the search.
The kangaroo appears to be in good health, and its owners say they're incredibly happy to have it back, and they're thankful for everyone's efforts. That's all for us here on Valley View News. I'm Alan Leyva.
And I'm Luka Chkhaidze. For updates, follow our YouTube channel at Valley View News and our Instagram page at Valley View News CSUN. Thanks for watching.